Thank you, Emmanuel. This is a very controversial topic, I must say. And the African woman in me, you can't want to take me out and assume that I would pay for the date. I mean, you should be the one to pay, right? But, I mean, in this part of the world, you should know who you are going on a date with before you decide, okay, who is going to pay. A colleague of mine was sharing about, she's African, about how she went on a date with a non-African. And then, of course, her African self, she had no plans. In fact, I don't even think she had plans to pay or went out with her card. And when they brought the bill, she was like, the guy was looking at her like, pay your bill, you know, and she was almost stranded. And I was like, sis, this is Canada. You have to be prepared, you know, so I feel like it works both ways. Whatever works for you. But me, personally, if you're asked, well, I'm married now, but when I was single, let me try to remember. Well, because of where we were and because of our earnings at the time, I think whoever had money at the time paid. But thinking about it now, I'm wondering why I even allowed that. You know? So it should be the man to pay. But then again, as a single girl, as a single lady, you should know who you're going out with and always be prepared. Because I've also had instances where, as a married person, I go out with my husband and I'm trying to bring out my card. And he's looking at me like, wait, what do you think you're doing? You know, so I feel like some men might see it as an ego thing. Why would I take you out and you think you want to pay? Meanwhile, some men would be like, sis, you ate this food. Pay your bill while I pay my bill.
That's correct. I mean, because I share the same similar views, right? So in the past, if you asked me this question, like maybe like 10, 15 years ago, and I probably would say, I mean, the traditional man in me would feel, why would you want to pay? I recall about 15 years ago, I went on a date with one of my colleagues, a female colleague right there. And, you know, she brought out her wallet and she was about to pay. I felt very embarrassed, like, why would you want to do this? Well, right now, if that happens, but
you'll be thankful.
Go ahead, right? Just proceed, right? So I feel that there shouldn't be any assumptions, right? So if I call for a date, there should be clarity on how things should go, and ask questions, and all that. I don't think that you should just assume that you should pay, because if I go on a date with you, let's assume that I'm not married and I go on a date with you, and when it's time to pay, and I see that maybe you're taking 2 steps backward. Or is that time you're telling me that, you don't have your wallet with you? Man, you're on your own.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, seriously on your own. So for me, I just feel like, those communications should happen. Before now, I would assume that man should take up the bills. But right now, especially in this part of the world that we are, that, there's no, you don't know about my financial capacity, you don't know. So if I ask you for it, I mean, I should be clear to say, oh yeah, it's on me. Bills are on me, right? Not so we are clear from ab initio, right? So that's my thoughts about it. I don't know if you have any contributions.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Like, set it straight, because everyone's financial capacity is different, and budgeting. Some people don't have budgets for dates, right? I was reading on Instagram, one financial advisor was sharing about how this couple, happily married couple, they go out on a date. The husband brings out his card and pays, for instance, $200. As soon as they're getting home, the woman transfers her own $100 to him, and they're happily married. So whatever works for you, whether you're single or married, I mean, because as a single person, your lifestyle is different. It's just you, and maybe you have some family commitments, right? And I mean, speaking about single and married, when I was single, I like to see my money in my account. I'd rather see money in my account than have a closet full of clothes, So that was my thing. I just felt like, this and that. But when I got married and I continued with that lifestyle, I married someone that likes to work hard, but also he's very prudent, right? But he likes to spend money on himself, on things, on people he loves. So I felt like, that you want to see money in your account, this guy is spending money. So I joined his party and I started to spend as well, So from how was your spending habits when you were single? Has it changed now that you're married?
Yeah, so I would say my case is the reverse, right? Because I,
Oh,
I
wow.
used to be the one to spend when I was single. I didn't have any, there was not much responsibility in quotes, right? I wasn't accountable to anyone. So I could spend my money the way I want to, right? So, and then when I met my wife then, when we were dating, I noticed that she was a little bit conservative with spending, and I used to wonder that, am I sure? So at the same time, I was asking myself this question. It wasn't like doubt, but it was more like, am I sure I will really fit into, But for me, when we got married, it was more like coming together to agree on what, I think it was more like discussions, and that's where budgeting came into play. It was more about how do we want to plan our finances, which some people call financial planning, which budgeting we know that it's actually like the source of how either we make money or how we spend the money, right? So it was that was how we started. So I started to adjust, and I saw that she also started adjusting with me because like I said, when I was single, I could buy things. I could, my spending habit was a little bit. I wouldn't say I was the conservative type. Basically, I could just go to a grocery store or go to a store and I see something I like. I just pick it. It wasn't like I budgeted for that thing, but right now, if you ask me that question now, I don't spend any money that I don't budget for. If it's not in my budget, so there is so how do I explain this? It's very so at home at the beginning of the year we will come up with a master budget, and then we have budget for every penny that we're going to spend. If anything that is not in the budget, even up to giving, you plan this is what we have set aside for giving every month. If you have spent the money, someone comes to you and tells me that, oh yes, I don't have it in my budget. We have to wait until the next month. So basically, we've been able to adjust that by how we spend. Our spending habit has really been adjusted just because we've been able to plan properly together as one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's that's deep because I mean, listening to that, I'm like, okay, so you don't walk. I mean, especially with kids, you just don't walk into a store and just see something and buy it. You have to have planned for it. Wow.
Absolutely. It's like I said, the master budget is there, and then we have, because for me, I believe that for every money you spend, I believe that you should have made the money before spending the money. Some people spend money before they make the money.
Ooh.
So you should have made that money. So if you give me $5, for instance, I'm not going to spend the $5. I'm going to double that $5 before I can spend that money. What I'm saying is that you've given me $5 to spend. I'm to spend that money. But I'm not just going to spend the money. I would have made that money. So that's why I said that. When I said earlier that the master budget is not just expense budget, right? It's both income budget and expense budget. So I would have made the money before I spend the money. It's very rare for me to, so I want to go to a store to just buy out of, oh, I like this thing, I want to buy it, oh, it's very nice and lovely. If it's not in my budget, I work strictly on budget. And this is something that, I mean, my marriage is going to be 10 years this year. And for the past 10 years, we've been doing this together, and then it has really helped us as a family.
That's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. So what would you say? I mean, okay, so people are single and okay, do you think that single people should be transparent with their partners, with their other partners about their income and their spending? So playing both ways, single and married. Because I read a story some years ago about a man who, is a bit open with his wife and all of that. There was a day they were just in the sitting room. And he just smashed his phone. What happened? He was literally shaking. So what happened was he had invested 500,000 naira in sports betting to surprise his wife. Maybe he wanted to buy something for her. And then the thing went south. So not only did he lose the 500,000, he had to fix his phone. And then the wife was like, so do you think that a husband or a partner should do surprises, buy surprise gifts, or try to invest without involving their partners? Because I would say that you might have a different focus. Your wife or your other partner might just have some spidey senses. They're like, I don't think that would work. Or, I mean, how do you think it should be both ways, single, when you're single or when you're married? Should you be open with how much you earn and the investment you want to make or gifts you want to buy, surprises? Because me, I feel like, okay, so my husband and I were very open with every money that goes out. And it kind of makes it difficult for me to surprise him with gifts. Because, like, he will see that something has left and he will be so inquisitive and he'll be like, how? I know that this is how much is meant to be here. So why has it changed? I'm like, mind your business. Can I not just buy something in peace?
So for me, I don't believe in partial disclosure. My school of thought, I believe in full disclosures, right? And so there's a place for surprises, right? And I would answer your questions in two different folds. So being single, I would say that it depends on the level of commitment that you are with the individual. So if you're committed, and let's assume that as a man, the man has proposed to you, you're engaged, or, I mean, things are changing now, right? We're seeing the other way around. Things are happening the other way around now. So, well, let's assume that, the norm that we know, that that the man has proposed and you're committed. For me as a man, if I'm committed to you and I would want to, because if you start to spend, especially of something of significant value, or we are buying luxury, and I'm not, maybe you just buy, and for me, those are red flags. Those are red flags to me. So I would want a situation whereby we start, because I believe that at that point in time, we've started to plan, you're planning your future. So you're in the process of planning the future, and at that point in time, you don't necessarily need to do things together, but I think it's just disclosure to say, oh, yes, this is what I'm doing, oh, I'm planning to do this, I'm doing that. I mean, I don't need to. So it's in a place for me to be able to advise you, or the other party advising each other to say, well, I think you should do it this way. I think we can do it this way, because we've started to plan together, right? So, but for being married, well, it's a little bit dicey, because my school of thought, like I said, is that we should pool resources together. We spend from that, just like you mentioned. If you're spending, you're already aware that you're spending the money. So where is the place of surprise? Or where the place of surprises, basically. So how we do our budget is that we do our budget in such a way that we have expense lines. You still have your money. You have money that you can spend on whatever you want to buy, right? And I have my money at the end of the month. But we have, bulk of it is our money, right? We pull resources together in one fund, in a single fund, and then you still have, like, your own money. So if you plan to surprise me and you don't want me to know about it, better go and take that money that you have. Don't come to our resources. So you can spend, and maybe after you realize that, you've spent outside what you plan to spend, then I can realize, okay, I can now take back from the money that we've, and then say, okay, well, you spent, but I wouldn't expect you to take from our resource, because we have planned it from the beginning. We go back to review. So there's a place of reviewing the budgets, maybe periodically, monthly or quarterly, as the case may be. But we do not make significant changes. What we have planned from the beginning of the year is what we will walk through to the end of the year, and we stick to it. We are accountable to each other. If I'm spending and I'm seeing that she tells me, she's more conservative. She tells me you're spending more money. And, if it's the other way around, I'll say, I don't think you should spend it. So there is this transparency, there's this disclosure. We don't hide anything. Hardly would you hear that I spent the money that she's not aware of. If it happens, it was an oversight.
That's really nice. That's interesting. So if I heard you correctly, Emmanuel, you said as a person that is single, it depends on the level at which your relationship is. So are you saying that if you just meet someone and you guys are talking, fine, you know that, okay, the end game is this, but you don't know if it's leading there, don't disclose your finances. Because in my opinion, it's none of your business. If I just start dating you and then you start to ask me, I mean, it can play both ways. As an African lady, I'm like, is there a reason why you want to marry me, or a reason why you don't want to marry me? But it can also play both ways, that it might be a red flag if this person, you're like, okay, what are your financial goals? And the person has no clue. It might, because some people are so serious in this relationship thing that it's not just their emotional feelings. They're like, is this person, can this person save? Can this person invest? I mean, nowadays, but I mean, are you saying that if you just met someone, or if you just meet someone, you shouldn't necessarily disclose your income and your financial plans?
Yes, basically, I don't think, because even, I'm just meeting you and you're telling me all your investment, all your, I will ask questions. In fact, it's even a red flag to me, like, why are you telling me all these things? Is there a reason, or you're asking me what you have, or you're asking me, you're a lady, you're asking me, what do I have in my account? Do I have land? Do I have properties?
I just want to know if you can take care of me.
Like, it's a red flag to me. So that's why I said that it depends on the level of relationship. If I'm just meeting you and you're asking me all these questions, I will take 2 steps backward, or maybe 5 steps, because I'm like, am I sure this lady is not just a gold digger? She's not just trying to understand what I have to there's a way you guys, ladies will basically size you and say, am I sure this man will be able to take care of me? So if you are doing that, so I won't put that forward at the beginning of relationship. I want to see the values that you have, right? I want to see to see the values you have. I want to see if we share the same values, and see if you are someone that so I wouldn't want that initial conversations about finances. Finances will come into play when you guys start to plan the future together. Or we are saying that, oh yes, there's future, and then we want to plan together. And that's when I can start disclosing things to you, and then we set those expectations. Please, no assumptions. Don't assume that my partner knows, or you should know. A man should know that they have those conversations. I believe that you should discuss communication. Communicate properly, effectively. Let your partner know that this is what I believe in, and then you guys see how things can work. And that's when you can now start planning the future together. That's my thought.
That's true. I agree with that. I really, really agree with that. Thank you, Manuel. We've had a great conversation today. And, knowing how managing, whether you're single or you're married, managing finances well is a key to having a great relationship. And the conversation doesn't end here. We can continue in our homes, in our relationships, because finances these days can either make or mar a relationship, because sometimes people, even friendships, people are like, people are friends because money is not involved. I don't know if you've heard that before. This person is your friend because people have not done any business together. So it's important to, set your plan, know what you want, and make sure that the person that you're in a relationship with, or if you're already married, you have the same goals. Yeah.
Thank you very much.